All right. Good afternoon, y'all. Welcome to our resume and cover letter best practices workshop. So really quick, let's get a feel for how y'all are all feeling right now. So if you had to describe how you're feeling right now as a weather pattern, what's your forecast? Feel free to enter in your response in the chat. I want to see how y'all are feeling. Santa Ana winds, a little windy, a little hot. Thank you, Pauline. I feel that. I'm feeling energetic, I'm feeling like it's like the early morning where the sun is not quite out there yet, but it's nice and cool. So you're feeling good and feeling excited to have a good day. That's kind of what I'm feeling. Brandon says sunny, but not too hot. That's good. That's good. I like that. I like that. All right. Thank you, y'all. Okay. So going into our workshop here, on average, how long do you all think a recruiter spends looking at a resume? So feel free to enter it in the chat. So in the previous group, some of them have said like 30 seconds, some of them have said 20 seconds, 5 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. What do you all think? 30 seconds. Okay, good. 30 seconds. Okay. Nice. So everyone's pretty much on the same page, I feel like, huh? Okay. So recruiters actually spend 6 to 10 seconds looking at a resume. What? Right? Doesn't that like feel so short? Like let's just count like, 6 seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi. Like that's it. So that's why it's so important for you all and us all, everyone, to really create a resume that is not only cohesive, concise, but also impressive. Because we don't have that much time to really, impress these recruiters. And so when looking at a resume, you want to see relevance, right? So talking about experiences that is relevant to whatever position you're trying to apply for, whether that's volunteering, an internship, a job, trying to go into a club. So that's why it's so important for us to really talk about experiences that is relevant just to align ourselves with that position. And then of course, experiences. So oftentimes students can overlook their experiences. Experiences consisting of jobs, internships, volunteering, class projects, student organizations. So if you were involved on campus, if you had any leadership opportunities, those are all good to mention. And even sometimes your relevant coursework too. If you've taken some courses that is relevant to the position you're applying for, you can definitely mention that as part of your resume. So our job here at the Career Center is really to try to pick your brains a little bit to make sure that you're mentioning really anything that you could think of, because sometimes, students might think an experience is too little, like, oh, I didn't really do, it wasn't anything, but we were able to pull some really good information and place it as, content on resumes. So that's our job here. And of course, customize. You're going to hear this from us a lot, or from me a lot today, is tailoring your resume. Gone are the days where you think that you can send the same resume to like 20 places. They have to be uniquely tailored to each position you're applying for. And I know it sounds really tedious, but trust me, it works. And so when we're talking about tailoring, we're talking about section titles. We're talking about the placement of them, and also what we're mentioning and really highlighting. And so you can Google resume and you'll see a bunch, but really it's going to look different depending on you. And so come see us and we can definitely help you put together a resume that works for you. And here next we have the applicant tracking system, the ATS. And so, sometimes a real human doesn't even look at your resume, which is really disappointing. But because sometimes they get so many applicants that they have to, run it through a system. So the system then tracks to see if there's any reoccurring keywords that that they're looking for in that candidate and that they place in the job description, and then compare that with your resume. So they try to see if there's any alignment between your resume and the candidate they're trying to fill in. So that's why tailoring it is super important. All right. So of course, resume formatting tips, the basics, making sure your margins make sense. They're not too close to the borders of the paper. The spacing is not all funky. And with the spacing, we can play with a little bit because sometimes students don't have a lot of experience to fill out one page. Sometimes they have too much experience to fill out the one page. And so we try to do, use some of our spacing tricks to really make it look good. And then of course, formatting, the font format. So 10 to 12 is the typical, 11 is what I see a lot of students have been using. And of course, any font that is professional and is legible. So avoid Comic Sans, but you can't go wrong with Times New Roman, Helvetica, Calibri even. And the length, keep it to 1 or 2 pages. So if you are, an individual who haven't been having a lot of jobs or any experiences, just 1 page, just try to make a 1 page, really make it as impressive as possible. The 1 pager is fine. So for undergrads, typically, we rarely have them do 2 pages unless they just were involved with a bunch of things and there's no way we can do 1 page. And if it makes sense, but our goal is to try to have you all have a really good 1 pager. And of course, the ETS, not using any tables, any text boxes, because when they run it through the system, it's going to be all wonky. And then don't include any photos of yourself, any personal information like your marital status, citizenship, date of birth. That's not really important. And nowadays, we also don't even have students put their full address on there anymore. I knew back then we used to do that, but nowadays just the city and the state is fine. And then of course, taking your time to make sure that your resume is error-free. You're returning this into recruiters. And so you want to make sure that you share them, you're detail oriented and you're paying attention to making sure that things look good. And of course, tailoring each resume to a specific position. Okay. All right, so bullet points. So it's so important for you to really put in a lot of time to have some really strong bullet points. And I can't stress this enough because think about it. You spend a whole year in a position and now it's boiled down to just 3 bullet points. And so you want to make sure that these bullet points are, robust, they're fully comprehensive of your experiences and they are reflecting your strengths. And so you want to use some action verbs, strong action verbs, and try not to repeat them. I'll definitely show you some examples of action verbs you can be using. And then keywords, remember tailoring our resume to the job posting. And then skills, so mentioning all your skills, soft skills, hard skills, any skills that you can think of, okay? And then including results and quantify whenever possible. So gone are the days where, you can put just what you did in a job. So here at the Career Center, we really want to help our students take their resume to the next level. And one way of doing that is really showing their achievements. So these bullet points are perfect opportunities for you to mention some of your achievements at your positions and then also quantify whenever possible. So if you're about to, start the school year and you're trying to look for a job, once you start, remember, try to document any numbers as much as possible. I'm not sure what the positions you all will be having. So maybe some of your positions, there will be no numbers involved, but try to think about, even if it's customer service, think about how many customers you serve in a day on average. So that's a good example to quantify. And then have around 3 to 4 bullet points per experience. So that's typically what we recommend the students to have, 3 to 4 bullet points and really keeping it consistent throughout. And targeting your resume, remember when I said you're going to hear this a lot from me, it's so important for you to target your resume. So take a look at the job posting, whatever you're interested in applying for, and really highlight any skills they mention, any responsibilities, anything that sticks out to you, highlight that. And if those match your background, your experiences, try to use some verbiage and try to use some wording, and be able to like plug that into your resume. So here it's showing that you have an alignment with this position, that you are the ideal candidate, okay? And then of course, thinking about looking at the job description and seeing that, oh, does any of these remind you of a previous experience you had that you just forgot to include it in your resume? So that's a good way to also try to expand your resume a little bit more too. All right, so CVs and resumes, they're both very different. CV is more research and academic based, but for the sake of today's workshop, we're going to focus on resumes, okay? So with resumes, we have a career guide. It's super helpful. I'm going to show you all what it looks like. We have a digital version and also a physical copy at our office. And so I would recommend you to take a look at it, and whenever you need it, every time I have a session with a student, like I'm most like 8 out of 10 times, like go over the career guide. And then for our weekly drop-ins, we have drop-ins from Tuesday to Thursdays, 10 to 2. You don't need to make an appointment for that, but they are just 15 minutes. So if you have a question that would need more time, or you feel like you need more than 15 minutes, then you can make an appointment with us on Handshake. All right, so this is the cover of our career guide. I'm going to show you. So here in chapter 6 of our career guide, it's all about resumes and cover letters, really talking about the format of resumes. And then also some categories you can have, some sections. See, so you have relevant coursework, publication, honors and awards. And then here it's going to be like an equation for how to build your bullet points. You have some examples on how to take your bullet points to the next level. And then the action verbs, so strong action verbs here. There's a lot. And then it goes into detail, what CV and resumes, what the differences of them are. And then quite a few resume examples. So if you all are not sure on what to have it look like, there's a bunch of examples here. So take a look at this and see if any of them stick out to you. Any of them, would be a good ideal rubric or skeleton of what you would want yours to look like. And then talking about the cover letters. So cover letters usually are 3 paragraphs. While the resume talks about what you've done, the cover letter is more about like how you've done it. And so with our cover letter, we typically have students on the first paragraph really introduce themselves and talk about, their characteristics, mention a little bit about their background. Second paragraph, mentioning your experiences, so what you've been able to do, and remember trying to tailor it to the job description. So try to pull some keywords and mention it here in the cover letter. And of course, the typical, third paragraph is just like, thank you for your time and consideration, and of course, asking for an interview. But yeah, feel free to come by and check out our drop-ins if you have any questions for putting together a cover letter and resume. And then here, so on your own time, there's VMock. It's a digital system where you can actually just run your resume into the system, and they'll give you some feedback on, if there's any typos, any errors, any grammar mistakes you made, anywhere you can improve it. So VMock is awesome. And then they also can compare your resume versus other students, so then you can see where you stand. And that's free and available to you.